The movie begins in the 1970s at Sofia Central Prison. The inmates sing the national anthem together. The protagonist, Bohemian, is a young inmate who was incarcerated in 1971. Bohemi has made a couple of friends, with whom he has lunch every day. Later, he relates that some guards are even friendly, whereas Captain Vekelski is a violent and sadistic man. We see Vekelski beating up prisoners. Bohemi talks about a workshop, where every inmate dreams of working. Working 2 days in this workshop is like serving 3 days in prison. But working in the workshop helps you occupy your mind with something, so you don't go crazy. In the evenings, Bohemi and his fellow inmates spend time together playing chess and reading. One day, the warden calls Bohemi into his office, to give him a chance to shorten his sentence, if he assembles a team to double production in the workshop. The warden promises him that he will allow him to spend a day with his child, if he accepts the assignment. Also, if he and his team bring the assignment to a successful end, it will grant him freedom for good behavior in 1 year. The warden allows him to create the team himself, by recruiting several men from among the inmates. However, when Bohemi reveals that he wants to recruit the Hatchet, a terrible double murderer, the warden disagrees. Bohemi explains that he is a hard worker, persuading the warden.
Знаешь ли какво това? Благодаря, гражданин директор. Ще си бъдеш вкъщи, при детето. Хидравлични копани. Толкова много да направим.
So he puts together a team, consisting of Hatchet, the troublesome criminal, Needle, the elderly master, and the gypsy Crazy. Bohemi's friends are scared of Hatchet, but he explains that they should just let him work, and not speak to him. Bohemi and Hatchet are good friends, as the serial killer has saved his life in the past.
Не съм го чувал. Тихо. Кое?
Слушам, гражданин началник.
The team arrives at the workshop. The inmate named Needle taunts a guard, so the captain will punish him with a day in solitary when they return to prison. He cannot beat him, because he needs him for the job anyway. Later, the captain gives a couple of tips to the rookie guard, and tells him succinctly about Needle's story. The man broke into an old lady's house, killed her, and when her granddaughter entered the house the next morning, he abused and killed her as well. Later, we see the team preparing to get to work. Needle causes trouble again, and the others tell him to behave. Soon, the rookie guard arrives, and gives chocolates to everyone, because his wife has given birth to a son. Bohemi gets excited, and congratulates him. The captain tells the warden that he should be stricter with the inmates, because they are nothing but animals. If they feel that the warden is afraid, they will tear him to pieces, so he should not let that happen. He also advises him to use the stick if ever necessary. The team's problems begin when Hatchet refuses to start the lathe. The captain signals Bohemi to take care of this, who approaches Hatchet, and the big man reveals that a pigeon is stuck inside the lathe. The men try to open the lathe, but they do not have the necessary tools. Soon, the captain and plant manager approach to see what is going on. Although there is a bird stuck inside, the captain orders the lathe to be turned on, but Hatchet flatly refuses. At this point, the captain orders the rookie guard to turn on the lathe. When he approaches and attempts to push the button, Hatchet takes the guard hostage, and states that he will not start work until the pigeon is rescued.
Что не работите? Ключове си друга.
Suddenly, Needle hits the captain in the head, knocking him unconscious. Then Needle orders Crazy to block the door. Bohemi is visibly worried, because the situation has gotten out of control. The inmates control the captain and guard, as they think of a plan. Bohemi says he will call the patrol to settle the matter, but Hatchet threatens that he will kill the warden if he does. The captain threatens them that they will be shot, and the prisoners become frightened. Crazy panics, and tells Needle and Hatchet to let the captain and guard go. Bohemi tries to settle the matter, and says he will not call the patrol. He proposes to go back to work, and release the captain and the guard. On the other hand, Needle desires the two prison employees. Master and Crazy are on Bohemy's side, but Needle knows that if he frees the captain, it is over for him. Bohemy tries to convince Hatchet to release the guard, but the big man says he will not get to work until they get the bird out. Bohemy tries to open the lathe again to get the bird out, but to no avail. At that point, Hatchet says that if the bird dies, he will also kill the guard. Needle states that he will kill the captain. The captain laughs, because Hatchet worries about something as small as a bird. He also provokes him and reminds Hatchet of his dead brother. At this point, Hatchet rages furiously at the captain, but the prisoners manage to stop him. The indignant master tells the captain to stop provoking him, if he does not want to make things worse. Bohemy finally proposes to negotiate with the arriving prison guards. They will release the captain and guard if the inmates can also safely return to the prison. Soon, guards arrive, banging on the door. The captain shouts, informing the guards of the emergency situation. Bohemy approaches the door and introduces himself, but the guards begin to open the door. One of the guards returns to the car to call for reinforcements, while the other stays to keep an eye on the inmates. The master asks Hatchet to let him go and talk to the guards to resolve the matter, and comes out with his hands up as the guard points his gun at him. In the meantime, the other guard tries to call for reinforcements, but is unable to contact the base, so he goes to the car to call them himself. In panic, the young guard shoots the master in the chest, killing him. The other inmates discover this, and Bohemy destroys the control unit, closing the door. Some time later, the ambulance and the prison warden arrive. The man orders them to find a way to contact the inmates, to negotiate. The warden tries to chase the police patrols away, so as not to frighten the inmates even more, but the police chief refuses to leave. Meanwhile, the inmates are still stuck inside, not knowing how everything will turn out. Bohemy puts the captain in a chair, and gives him water, and suggests that they open the door and surrender, but Crazy is afraid that they will end up like the master. On the other hand, Hatchet still threatens them, saying that if they open the door, he will kill the hostages. Gradually, the prisoners realize that the only way to deal with the situation is to save the bird, as Hatchet wants. Meanwhile, the guard calls the minister, and asks him to order the police captain to leave the area. The captain tells him that he has 1 hour to resolve the situation, and then they will intervene. The watchman manages to speak to the prisoners through a microphone, and warns them to leave the hostages alive. He also assures them that they will turn a blind eye to what has happened, passing it off as a simple accident. Bohemy suggests they try one more time to open the lathe, and Hatchet agrees to help. Bohemy takes the keys from the captain, and frees Hatchet from the chains, allowing him to move more freely, in order to save the bird. When Needle rebels, Bohemy states that they will rescue the bird, after which they open the door and surrender. Bohemy and Needle begin to beat each other up.
Изчезвам, аз не съм тук пак като даскал. Така ли, какво ще правиш? Ще бягам.
Needle puts Bohemy on the ground, and tries to stab him with an instrument, but Hatchet grabs him and throws him against the wall. The prisoners continue trying to open the lathe. With some difficulty, Hatchet manages to open it, thanks to his muscles. However, they have to remove another lid. The guard suggests turning off the lathe, or they will cut their hands. Then they see that the bird is still alive. When Bohemy asks why he wants to save the bird, Hatchet starts telling about his nightmares every night. In his nightmare, Hatchet is put in a coffin and buried alive. Although he screams and begs for release, he finally suffocates in the coffin. As a result, he sees himself in the bird, and hopes that if it is saved, the nightmares will stop plaguing him. When Bohemy asks the guard to help them open the lathe, he says he will do so only on one condition: they must release the captain. In this way, the captain will explain everything outside. On the other hand, Needle disagrees, and hits the captain with his stick.
Ще помогна прямо на условия. Вънка не им пука нито за пилето, нито за нас. Сигурен, че им пука достатъчно за теб.
Bohemy explains to the guard that if they release the captain, everyone will be killed, including him. Finally, when Bohemy threatens the guard with tying him up like the captain, the latter agrees to help. In the meantime, the police captain discusses with the prison warden how they should resolve the matter. The guard is sure that the hostages are still alive. As Crazy and the guard go to get a tool, the prisoner tells him the story of Hatchet. The big man was not a bad man, but one night he changed his life forever. He got heavily drunk during his brother's wedding, and when the latter ordered him to stop, a drunken Hatchet killed him. When his father tried to stop them, he killed him as well. Subsequently, Hatchet turned himself into the police on his own. The prisoners continue to try to open the lathe, but to no avail. Suddenly, the guard calls Bohemy to the door to talk, because the 60 minutes have already passed. Bohemy asks for another hour, so he can release the bird. When the warden tries to talk to the hostage captain, the latter says there is no bird, and the prisoners are just devising a plan to escape. Finally, the warden says they will still have 60 minutes if they free the hostages, and gives them 5 minutes to think. The warden also mentions the parole they had discussed, and Crazy hears this. When the other prisoners hear this, they are indignant with Bohemy, because he has only used them for his own interests. The captain bursts out laughing, and Bohemy hits him in the face, and starts to untie the captain to free him, but Needle objects. Bohemy states that they will only free the captain, but the rookie guard will stay here. The captain is freed. Suddenly, the police captain appears and starts shooting at the prisoners, even though he risks killing the hostage.
Уговорката ни беше друга. Лакински излиза, но обраница остава с нас.
The hostage captain is brought back into the workshop again, and the negotiation falls apart. In a fury, the guard throws a punch at the police captain, but the latter states that time is up. Next, we see a squad of soldiers arriving in a truck. Back there, the prisoners finally manage to punch a hole in the lid of the lathe. Bohemy sticks his hand in, and tries to get the bird, but they fail to get it. Needle tries to cut the lid with an angle grinder, but to no avail. As a result, they try to create another hole, but they need tools. Bohemy goes to the captain, to get the keys to the tool shed. The captain asks him to bring him a weapon, because soon soldiers will enter, and he wants to defend himself. In return, the captain promises Bohemy that he will tell the guard that he is innocent and will be paroled. Bohemy returns with a tank of oxygen, and throws the key in the captain's face. Bohemy is not naive enough to bring him a weapon, because he knows he will kill them all. Meanwhile, the soldiers prepare to enter the workshop. The prisoners intend to use a welding machine to melt iron, but they do not know how to use it, so the captain offers to help. As the captain melts the metal, the soldiers prepare to explode the door. Finally, they manage to open the lathe, but the bird does not want to fly away. Meanwhile, the captain goes for his gun, and begins to threaten them.
Serafim Georgiev! Са гарантирани.
He orders all the prisoners to lie down on the ground, but Hatchet refuses, and then pounces on him, grabbing him by the neck. Hatchet smashes the captain's neck, killing him, and the rookie guard looks on in terror. Hatchet then grabs the bird, and the prisoners gather to clean it. Soon, the door is blown open, and the soldiers come inside. The prisoners lie on the ground, but Hatchet gets up and throws the bird into the air. The captain orders to shoot, and Hatchet is killed. The prisoners stand up and scream in joy, because the bird has flown away. The captain orders to shoot them, but the soldiers refuse, so he tries to shoot them, but the guard threatens him to stop. Finally, it turns out that the prisoners were not shot because the rookie guard lied, and said Hatchet held them all hostage. The prisoners return to prison, and will never forget their hero, Hatchet.